Well, what's up, everyone? My name is Seth, and we are here for HSM Chat. If you're new with us, welcome. And if you're not really sure what this is just a conversation. We're in week 2 of a series we're calling God and Culture. And so I've got some friends here on Zoom, and in just a minute, we're going to bring them in. But if you have questions, if you've got comments, if you've got thoughts, anything, feel free to drop that in the chat, because this isn't just a conversation here on Zoom between us, but it's a conversation with you as well. And so without further ado, I've got Dan here from the Branch Creek campus, and I've got Corey from the Ephrata campus, and so let's say hi to them. Yo, what's up, guys? Yo, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yo,
what's up? How you doing, Seth?
Doing well, man. How are you? Sweet. So we're in a conversation called God and Culture, and tonight we're really looking at media and how do we interact wisely with media as followers of Jesus. And so just want to start off with maybe a really difficult question, I'm not sure. What is your favorite movie of all time? Corey, I think I might know yours.
Yeah. Well, yes, you gotta guess.
I'm going Star Wars. I know that much.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was going to argue to see if you'd be okay with me saying movie series, and then yes, the answer would be Star Wars.
So yes, but I do want to know specifically. And if you can't give me top 1, give me your top 3.
All right, I'll say it, but I might get judged for this, but definitely episode 3. And partly because that was the first one I ever remember going to the theater to see.
You're putting episode 3 top.
Yeah, actually. So
that's
and it was when it all comes together. It was like beautiful. It was just awesome. Even though it has a bad ending, it was still amazing.
That's controversial, man.
I know.
You gotta have the OG in there somewhere.
It is. You said top, so
yeah. What top 3? Give me the other 2 in your top 3.
All right. Episode 3, episode 5.
Okay.
And then Rogue One.
Okay.
That's it.
I can get behind your second and third there.
Yep. Definitely.
Dan, what about you, man?
Oh, that's a tough question. Well, let me just say this, and this might be controversial, but I'm a sucker for romantic comedies. So I love a good romantic comedy. So I just want to throw that out there. So if anyone secretly likes or it's their guilty pleasure to like a romantic comedy, that's cool because I do. But I will say my favorite movie of all time. I love Remember the Titans. I just think it's an awesome movie. Just great acting. I mean, it's based on a true story, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, that one's classic. Man, I saw that on Disney Plus. I'm like, man, I need to rewatch that at some point. So for me, I think Star Wars is like the easy answer for me. But I'm actually going to go with a documentary, because I'm a nerd like that. And it's a documentary about a sushi chef called Gyro Dreams of Sushi. World's Best Sushi Chef. It was on Netflix a couple years ago, so not sure if it's still on there or not, but definitely check that one out if you're on there.
So your favorite movie of all time was a documentary?
So I don't know. I don't want to say favorite. So you got to go movies and documentaries. They work together, all right? Like I could go nonfiction movie, and that's Star Wars, probably episode 5 top. But I'm a sucker for documentaries, man. A good documentary.
Cool, man. That's cool. That's cool.
I don't watch a lot of movies, so that's why.
I respect it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And so that's kind of just breaking the ice. We're talking about movies, we're talking about media, we're talking about all of that good stuff. And so just kind of diving right into our first question tonight, it's this. When it comes to the media that you take in, it's like if you're choosing a movie to watch on Netflix or you're following an account on Instagram, whatever it is, like what boundaries, guardrails, filters do you guys have in place? And how did you come to those filters? That's I think the more interesting part is like how did you put those in place?
Well, for me, it's all about taking things in that are positive, that are going to affect me in a positive way. And it's kind of the idea of, when you shake a Coke bottle and then you open the cap, you're not determining what comes out because you shook it. What determines what comes out of that bottle is what was put into it. So I look at it that way. I want to put into my heart what I want to come out when I'm shaken or rattled or stressed or angry, or whatever that is. So for me, it's hugely important that I choose things that have a positive message, whether it be music, TV shows, movies, anything like that. I like a positive message, and a good character arc is helpful too.
Nice. That's awesome.
Cool.
Yo, Corey, people in the chat are agreeing with you about episode 3.
Yeah.
It was a sleeper pick, but you got people on your side, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all that matters. Thanks, guys. Yeah, for me, I just wanted to say that I think I probably have a similar story to a lot of you guys, where a lot of those boundaries were placed on me at a young age from my parents. And I feel like I didn't really fully understand why, but I had to deal with it anyway. And then as I got older and I had more freedom, quote unquote freedom, to make decisions, and I started to make a few bad ones, and I realized the effect of how movies and music and media in general has a toll on me. That's when I started to really create better boundaries. And I remember I deleted some social media platforms, especially Twitter, there for a little bit. I never thought I would ever delete a social media platform because I love social media, but I needed a break there for a little bit, and I just remember doing that. So I think once you make a few bad decisions with it and you realize, wow, how much this really affects me, that's when you start to make those boundaries for sure.
So you both touched on this, so I'd love to hear more on this, but you both talked about like how media affects you. And I know I've said this, and I could imagine a lot of students out there would say this too, but like when it comes to the media that we allow in, it can be easy to justify what we watch or listen to and say, that doesn't affect me. So how would you respond to a student who says that? How would you, I've said that. So like, yeah, if I were a teenager, what would you say to me?
I think that, when you think about the idea of like, you don't watch a scary movie before you go to bed, it has the same effect on your mind regardless. I know for me, when I watch a movie, the way my brain works is I think about it the whole next day. And in like my spare free time, I'm thinking about a scene or how it went together or the storyline or whatever it is. Any movie I watch, and even if it's the third or fourth time I've seen it. And I just think that the inner workings of your mind are the same way with anything that you take in. You're thinking about it constantly. It goes into your subconscious. Don't watch a scary movie before bed because you're going to be up. It's going to affect your dreams. It's going to scare you. And I think it has the same effect. And a lot of times we don't see how it affects us outright, so we feel like it doesn't. It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna get angry because of this. But you're putting anger in, and what's going to come out when you get shaken is anger.
Yeah, that's good. Corey, you got any thoughts?
I think one thing I was thinking of when you were saying that is the reality is that it does affect people differently. And I think that there are some things that some people might be able to watch that won't affect them as much as other people. And I mean, to be honest, maybe it's trial and error a little bit of realizing what affects you negatively and what doesn't. But I definitely covered myself by saying, oh, like this doesn't affect me, but it actually does. So I think for me, if you, Seth, were asking me that, I would just ask why you enjoyed this film or show or whatever, and we talk about it. And I think it'd be pretty easily seen how it's affecting you over just a short conversation. And so that's how I would start for sure.
No, that's helpful. Yeah, I think I agree, because like I can think back to a time like when I was listening to a lot of like non-Christian rap artists, and for me, like great beat, love the lyricism and the way that they just use double entendre and imagery and all of that, and so just like appreciated the art of it. But there were certain artists, man, I would listen to, and it wasn't anything in particular. I just felt like angsty or angry. And it took a while for me to like be like, oh, I wonder if that's connected. And so like, yeah, had to kind of filter some of that out and not listen to that as much. And Ben put a question here that he'd love for us to talk about too, which I think is great. How do you know when to cut down versus cut out when it comes to social media? And I think this might be different for everyone. So for me, it's not so much about like it negatively impacting me, social media in particular. But for me, it's a time suck. Like I can sit there and scroll for hours and just not be productive at all, and it's meaningless content that I'm taking in. Like, it's not adding value to my life, and so for me, that's a cut down. I think if it were like changing how I viewed myself, like if it was giving me poor self-esteem or making me feel like real anxious or something, like from news is this for me. Like my Twitter feed, if it's full of different news and it's making me feel anxious, like I just need to cut that out for a time because I need to get rid of that right now.
I would say for me, very rarely does it ever come to the point of cutting out like social media. I said I deleted Twitter once. That was like crazy level of I really needed it to stop. But I think for me is when social media becomes not social media anymore. Like, what is the purpose of social media? It's to like connect with others, to connect in a way that we wouldn't be able to do any other way, to learn about things quickly, to get information out quickly. And when it becomes something more like you were saying, judging yourself compared to other people, or maybe watching too much of something that you probably shouldn't be watching, indulging in something you shouldn't be indulging in. That's the point when I was like, okay, we really need to start cutting this down and quickly. And so sometimes it just needs to be a social media, like, who are my followers? Like, overhaul. Just let's overhaul who my followers are and who I'm following and what I'm seeing before I even delete it. But I know others might be quicker to delete it before they do that overhaul. I don't know. But yeah.
I agree, and I think that you guys both make good points with it all depends on the person. And Corey, you said that about what you're taking in, and Seth, you're saying the same. It's a different approach. For me personally, I find that it's also too when it becomes a time waste and it's taking me away from what I'm doing, what I should be doing in my everyday life. I should be straightening up the kitchen or cleaning up the living room or getting some work done. And if I find myself on social media, I really have to get in my head and say, all right, this is time. I have to cut down on this. I haven't done any cutting out and completely deleting any social media, but definitely cutting down on it is big when it's taking away from my personal time, my family time, and everything like that.
Yeah, that's good. And I think honestly, like we can talk about social media here, but I think for every person it's different. So for me, it's not social media. I would say it's more video games for me. Like I'd rather sit and game and just like tune stuff out for a little bit. For some people, it might be Netflix. For others, it might be whatever, music. So I do think it's different for everyone. But yeah, those are good thoughts. Want to jump to the next question here. And yeah, we're followers of Jesus, and so we should bring Jesus into the picture. And so as you're setting boundaries, filters, thinking through these things, what media, and even just ideas that you engage with, what passages from Scripture come to mind, or what ideas from Scripture do you guys turn to?
So 2 Timothy 2:22, it says there, run from anything that stimulates youthful lust. Instead, pursue righteous living, faithfulness, love, and peace. Enjoy the companionship of those who call on the Lord with pure hearts. And that's always an encouragement. I love the book, 2 Timothy. There's a lot of great encouragement in there for everything. But when it comes to how we should be our guiding principle in life and what we should be taking in, whether it be socially, social media, movies, music, all of that. I love that verse in 2 Timothy.
Nice. Corey, you got anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, definitely. So I love that verse too, Dan. I was thinking of that one. But the second one that I would go to is Romans chapter 14. So once you look at how it's affecting yourself, I think that the Bible is really clear here in Romans 14 to look and see how it's affecting other people around you and how important that is. So in verse 13, it says, so let's stop condemning each other. Decide to live instead in a way that you will not cause another believer to stumble and fall. So a lot of times we get caught judging each other, saying, oh, like if I watch that show, well, like we think to ourselves, oh, if I watch that show, that would be really bad for me. But maybe it's not for that person, and we condemn that person. But then we watch a show or talk about a movie or something that might really negatively affect somebody else. So just keep that in mind and try not to to bring each other down by the stuff that we're indulging in.
Yeah, that's good, having the other's mindset. For me, it was Philippians 4:8, and this is probably like the one everyone expects if you've been around church, but it's fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. And so, yeah, does it fit into one of those categories? And if so, like, awesome. And I think there's room for interpretation of what those words mean, but that's kind of where I turn to. That's the biggest one. Any other passages or just teachings or ideas from Scripture, you guys, that come to mind?
Yeah, another one I think of too is Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So just the same idea, like I was saying in the beginning, is what you put in is what's going to come out. And so Proverbs 4:23 is like one of my favorite verses, probably top 3 for me, because I think it protects against everything, and it's a great lighthouse for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I just kind of want to sum up what we've talked about here. Really, it comes down to like your own knowing of yourself and what affects you. And so we're not drawing any hard lines. This isn't a black and white issue, but it really is a gray issue. And you're going to have to learn and decide for yourself what affects you, what doesn't, and use wisdom. Like, this isn't a, hey, you can watch that and not watch that. You have to exercise wisdom as a follower of Jesus. And so, yeah, which I think is really cool, that we have that ability, and it's not strict rules, but grace in there. So final question here for you guys is, we've talked a lot about how media can influence us and how to kind of approach that, but how can we, as followers of Jesus, influence culture and influence others? Taking kind of the different approach to that.
I think that, above all else, it's our actions in the way we influence culture. I find that, I see that now even more as, I've become a parent, and just seeing the way that my kids will mimic what I do, and even like how I say things. And it's so telling to me sometimes the spotlight that is on us, especially in times when, it's a divisive world. It's very politicized. It's very polarized right now. And I think that this is the time where a spotlight can be on us, and our actions and how we treat people. And like Corey was saying about others, and having that others mindset, and how we treat others through our actions can really influence a lot of different.
Nice. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I was thinking that I know a lot of Christians or followers of Jesus that I know have really went the easier route and just avoid all kinds of media and to really remove themselves from culture. And while that might be easier because you know that you're like kind of always in the right, I guess, I don't think that that's necessarily the best answer, at least not for me, because I like thinking about doing the harder thing and to getting in where other people are, the people who don't know Jesus, and getting involved and getting into understanding what they like to do, why they like to do it, the things that influence them, but definitely guarding my heart and knowing that I'm doing it for the right purposes, and understanding that it could be a slippery slope if I'm not careful. But man, I love to know what's going on, to be a part of culture, to watch and see the newest thing that's going on. But like Dan was just talking about, our actions are different. So as other people who don't know Jesus connect with us, and we connect over cultural things, then they get to the front row seat in seeing why we're different and seeing our actions as we follow Jesus. So I think culture is huge. It's a huge part of introducing other people to Jesus and getting involved in it. I think we need to do it with the right heart, though. And that is why we talk about it at HSM, which is awesome.
Yeah, for me, man, I'm like, when's the last time a good Christian movie was made? Like, they're all so bad. And it feels so wrong to say that, but they're not good. And like Christian music, most of it's the same way. And so for me, it comes down to like, be a Christian, but that doesn't mean you have to make Christian movies or Christian music. Like, be a Christian and just make good art. Like, our God is a creative God, and we look at Genesis 1 and I mean, you look around, everything that we see, the stars, the mountains, all like God made that, and then we go and make a really crappy film. So for me, it's like, dude, if you're a filmmaker, go make the best films possible, and engage your craft the best you can. If you're a photographer, like go take the best pictures you can. Like musician, go make the best music you possibly can. You don't have to label it Christian. Just be a Christian and go do amazing stuff. Do you guys have anything that's like, man, you've seen that's just great art or great film music that you'd like, man, yeah, this is good and this represents Christ well and it's worth checking out?
Not that I can think off the top of my head. Like I'm the same way. I'm a big fan of anything that's good and just great art. Whether movies, TV shows, I watch. Even if someone tells me a movie's terrible, I'm still gonna watch it one time. I want to make that decision for myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of anything. Nothing specific off the top of my head. I'm a big fan of The Mandalorian.
Nice.
Digging on that right now.
No spoilers.
But nothing. Yeah, no spoilers. But nothing specific for me.
Yeah, man, it's hard. Like you said, it's hard to find that. It's difficult because I've seen people who said they're followers of Jesus, then get big, and then end up not really showing Jesus at all, which is kind of sad as well. But I guess I'm a sports dude. I love sports, love watching sports, big fan. But one dude I love following is Tim Tebow, and I know that he's like the cliche Christian dude, but I've continued to follow him, continued to listen to what he has to say, and he's not afraid to get involved in non-Christian things. You see him on ESPN every now and then talking about college football, and he's still a big name out there, but he also really, really, really talks about Jesus as much as he can. So I think he's a great example to follow. If you're great at something, run after it, but don't be afraid to share Jesus when you're there, which is awesome.
Yeah. I know the name. I don't watch football at all.
Oh, really, man?
No, I mean, no, not really. I might watch the Super Bowl, maybe. Yeah, but I know who Tim Tebow is, so I think it speaks to his influence. For me,
I'm a Steelers fan, and the one time he was backup quarterback for the Broncos and beat the Steelers in the playoffs, and it was like the weirdest feeling I've ever had because I love the dude, but he just beat the Steelers, and it was a really sad day. So he definitely has a special place in my heart for that.
You're emotionally invested.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's Toby Nwigwe. He's a rap artist, Christian guy, but wouldn't consider him a Christian artist. Just phenomenal. Like, yeah, so good lyrically, like one of the best. And he's collabed with Black Thought and Crit and D Smoke, and so like all of these other like big names in hip hop right now. He's collabing with these guys as a Christian artist, and yet like doesn't cuss, doesn't talk about like women in derogatory ways, and so yeah, he's awesome. Not to mention his like choreography and his music videos are top notch as well. So talk about making good art, Toby Nwigwe. That is.
Oh, I have one other one. Why have I not brought this up? This ready for controversial?
Okay,
I'm gonna bring
let's hear it.
controversial a little bit. Justin Bieber, man.
The new stuff.
Dude, he's definitely, if you look up his name and put his like radio on shuffle, you're gonna get probably some pretty bad songs. But recently, man, if you follow him on social media, he is not afraid to talk about Jesus and the truth of the gospel and how much Jesus loves us, and it's really cool to see. So that's a really big name for sure.
Yeah, I used to hate on Bieber like a lot in like middle school, high school. He was like all the little girls were like into him, and he was just like it was so bad, and his music was terrible. I have to admit, man, his music's decent. Like I can actually listen to it now. Yeah.
And his interviews, like look up his interviews, the recent interviews. Like he's not afraid to share the gospel. It's really
Nice.
cool.
I'll have to check out some of those. Sweet. Well, any closing thoughts from you guys? Looking at the chat, don't see any more questions from the chat. So if you have a question, drop it now. And if not, that's cool too. Sweet. Well, thank you guys for being on here.
Hey, I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Love you guys, and love you guys in Student Man. Can't wait to see you guys in person coming up. Which
Yeah,
is
man.
exciting.
Sweet. All right. See you, Corey. See you, Dan.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, thanks. See you guys. Have a good night.
So thanks for hanging out with us for HSM Chat. One quick announcement about next week. We love doing HSM Chat. We love these conversations. And so next week, we're actually going to move it to a different platform. We're going to go from YouTube to Twitch. And so we are on Twitch at twitch.tv/LCBC StudentMen. So next Sunday at 1 p.m., we'll be there talking about the main gathering, interacting with that content. So if you enjoyed being a part of these conversations, we'll see you on Twitch next week. But until then, have a great week. Love you guys. See ya.